It's another spoiler day. Um, MTG must have saw our video. Ha. We got more spoilers today.
We roasted them yesterday. They had to give us more.
Exactly. Because you can't just, roast MTG and get things you wanted out of them. Or I guess you can't roast MTG for them to come back and, correct themselves.
Oh, big
So
corrections.
Innistrad Remastered had more spoilers today. We're going to go over commons, uncommons. We don't necessarily have to go through each one because Trevor and I both had agreed. Today's spoilers were about as good as yesterday's spoiling event. It was mid.
Yeah.
And we're going to dive into Innistrad.
Innistrad, indeed.
So here's some of the comments. I don't really have a comment towards really any of these. I think the only card that I've played out of here is the Deranged Assistant, which was in I think a deck that I was playing. I think it was in Azusa, if I remember correctly.
Azami.
Azami. And then I just had a Teehee at the Faithless Looting, even though this isn't being used in like modern or anything like that.
Oh, it's being used in modern.
Okay, so it just got unbanned.
It just got unbanned. It's being played. I think it's being played in Dredge right now and in the Reanimator decks.
So I found that very entertaining. I saw it and I didn't know that it was being played in modern, and I was like, haha, we just got done unbanning this card, and lo and behold, look who's here in the commons. It's Faithless Looting. Not that these prints already exist out there. You can find all kinds of them. I just find it ridiculously comical, the timing of the situation. And it's not that Wizards didn't know what they were doing.
100%.
Do you want to speak to any of these cards beyond the two that I've pointed out? I don't know if there's anything worth speaking to here.
I mean, none of these cards are really like Delver of Secrets is the only one that sees play besides Faithless Looting, but everyone else is kind of like sure.
Yeah.
Like I guess a Braid gets played in like sideboard, but
sure.
It's not really. There's nothing out of the commons that were spoiled that makes me go, oh yeah, I want more singles from this set because I'm like, these aren't great for reprints.
They're dropping common loot. They are literally what the name implies.
Yeah.
Uncommons. I also don't know a whole lot about these, and I don't remember if the manner in which they were spoiled, if I was seeing them correctly as they were being talked about. But what I've noticed from the commons and the uncommons in Innistrad Remastered is I hope you're playing with your graveyard, because if you're not, none of these cards really apply to you.
Yeah. I think that the major one that we're seeing out of all these is Ghoul Tree got downshifted from rare to uncommon.
Sure.
That's about it. But all the other ones they're kind of like, sure, I'm there. Like I'll play Noose Constrictor in like a Get Rog deck where I'm discarding my lands to draw cards to then discard more lands, but it's nothing.
I think the only creature that I found somewhat interesting in this uncommons was the Thermal Alchemist. I could see it being used in a Spell Slinger deck, but that was really the only item here that I was like, maybe.
I play Thermal Alchemist in my Niv Mizzet deck.
Like, I feel like that was what Innistrad called for, is I talked about the graveyard thing, but also I realized after reading that card again that it also feels like it's calling to a Spellslinger in Izzet.
Yep.
So if you guys play Izzet decks, or if you're playing graveyard decks, hey, guess what? This set, Innistrad Remastered, is definitely for you.
Okay, you're cooking.
Moving on to the next set of uncommons. Yeah, the Blood Tithe Harvester I actually wasn't surprised to see, as well as the Flesh Taker. I get that we're doing an Innistrad Remastered, but these were just in double the double
They
not
were
double
just in
masters, the
standard.
double and they were in the double feature. The one that I
Yeah.
talked about last night. I know because I have a flesh taker or anything in black and white, as well as the blood tithe harvester in black and white. I don't know if these other cards do. Those are just two that specifically stick out to me that I know I've seen in black and white, and that wasn't that long ago.
Cards that are here that are in black and white is the Blade Stitch Scab,
Mm.
Blood Tithe, Flesh, Flesh Raker, Flesh Taker, whatever it is. Um, Join the Dance, Vile Spawn Spider. They're I'm. It's just there's. They reprinted a lot of the Crimson Vow and Midnight Hunt cards,
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't need it. The set just rotated out of standard. We don't need to bring it back. Um, I again, just like the last slide, the only major one that we're seeing is the Splinter Fright got downshifted from rare to uncommon, but it's nothing to write home about.
They're dropping common loot for uncommons.
Yeah.
Let's go into the rares. I was not wowed about this, and I realized that our splash art is clipping the captivating vampire. If you guys don't know what it does, other vampire creatures you get +1/+1, and then tap 5 untap vampires you control, gain control of target creature. It becomes a vampire in addition to its other types. I play this card in my Edgar deck. I'm really not using it for the bottom decks. I'm just beefing up my vampires. So if you are planning on trying to build an Edgar deck, I guess this is a good one for you. If you don't have it already, I don't recall. I don't think this card was very expensive.
I don't think it was either, but this card also kind of irritates me because it wasn't originally in an Innistrad. Um,
But he's a vampire. We have to allow it. They said we
yeah,
were getting vampires and angels and demons. Oh, wait. We seem to have lost the demon part, I feel like. But we've got Eldrazi's and horrors.
yeah. Who doesn't love horrors?
Horrors, not horrors.
Oh,
But
my bad. My
somewhat like one and the
bad.
same.
Yeah.
What else here? The Dissonant Perfection. I think that's the flip side of the card that I mentioned that I played in Azami.
No, that is the front and back side.
Oh, okay. So I just
Um,
did it for the human wizard things because we were doing wizard stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
The Docent of Perfection and Thing of the Ice got spoiled together, and the people who were doing the announcements, they didn't even know what set these cards were originally from, and they were like, "Oh, chat will just tell us what they're from." If you're gonna do a stream and you're gonna announce these cards, know what you're from, because you can't be like, "Yeah, I helped work on this set," and then you come up with the, "Oh wait, I don't know this one."
and it's one of
Like
those.
I get there's a lot of Magic cards, but you also have to think, if you're gonna blow smoke up people's ass, you got to do it the right way. And
Well,
being like, "Oh, chat's gonna just do our homework for us," that's not it.
not just that, you're releasing spoilers for an expensive set. You should know some knowledge. Now, we talk about me and how I've only been playing Magic for about a year. I don't have all the background knowledge and I make errors, and you or Casey, when he's on, usually corrects me in it. And you guys have all of that knowledge, right? But I'm not working on these Magic sets. I expect a new Magic player to not know that information. But if you're literally on a live stream to however many thousands of people
Yep.
trying to push sales for wizards, and you're just like, yeah, don't know, and keep going on, and we'll talk, because
Oh,
there's some spice in here today that we'll be going over, and blitzing through the commons and the uncommons as quickly as we have really is because we want to get to the absolute meat of what our bitch fit is about today. We've had a lot of them about Innistrad, but definitely today is like, we had talked about, are we going to post something today? Are we just going to post at the end because the end is near?
yeah.
And
2
we were
days.
like, yeah. And we were like, I as a new player, I feel very strongly towards the spoilers today. But I digress. We'll go into that. Thing in the Ice was the only rare that I saw that I had interest in. I've never seen this card before, and I know it's a reprint. And I was like, card looks kind of cool. I do sort of like that. But other than that, yeah, I don't like
Want
it.
to hear Thing in the Ice's nickname?
Huh?
Titty.
Yes.
Yes. On this page, Hermit Druid also not an Innistrad card.
And when we get to a different part of this segment, I will explain why I'm upset about that.
Hermit Druid. Oh,
go ahead.
I was gonna say Hermit Druid was originally in Stronghold. Then that. I think Stronghold was on Wrath for the plane, which it's either Wrath or Dominaria, which, if you didn't know, isn't Innistrad.
What? We're gonna move on. The Mythic Rares. I have feelings. The Bloodline Keeper is another good vampire I have in my Edgar deck. I think it's fine as a reprint, but I just don't feel satisfied it, and I am very biased towards that because I already have this card, which is good and bad. It is a good card. It is a good card for an Edgar deck. I am just upset about it because I already own one. This does nothing for me when I look at it from a consumer standpoint of someone that owns a vampire deck that has this, and I go, cool. I don't need this. The Sarin I actually was considering picking up. This is probably one of the few cards out of today I was interested in seeing. I can't wait to talk about the other versions of him that were spoiled, but we'll get to that.
Also not a card that was in an Innistrad set.
Yeah, but like Edgar's here and the grandson, and as we learned from, a future video that we've already recorded, you got to keep it in the family. So
yeah, keeping it in the family is exactly what you want to do. But I mean, there's Sorens that were literally printed on Innistrad or in Innistrad sets, and they chose one that was from a core set, which I guess the core sets they have their own, but we don't know what plane he's on. He could be anywhere. I think that them doing cards that aren't from Ravnica as a whole.
You mean Innistrad?
Innistrad as a whole. I think it's a very bad design.
Well, I mean, it's in the name. Innistrad Remastered.
Yeah,
also,
not
my hot
Innistrad
take,
flavored remastered.
Yeah, and my hot take here, I don't know any of the Magic Lord. I have to say, the Tamio, first, I'm just sick of seeing Tamio for one. For two, she seems so out of place in this list of cards. Does she come from Innistrad? Does she belong here? Technically,
yeah, she was in Eldritch Moon. She Imprison in the Moon, your favorite blue removal spell.
I do love Imprison in the Moon.
She was the one that imprisoned Emrakul in the Moon.
I just don't want to see her here. Hot take. I just don't want to see her here.
But do you want to see Frog?
I did like the Gitrog Frog. I will admit that. I know this is a reprint. I don't really like this art. Again, we'll talk about alternative arts. But yeah, this was another one that I was interested in seeing. But as someone that doesn't necessarily play Frog, I'm like, it's there.
Yeah.
I
like Frog's Secret Lair.
And then, that one's also very good.
Yeah.
The Arlen, as someone that's had a werewolf deck, again, it's there. If you're new to Magic and you're looking to start one of these tribal decks, they're good for that. But other than that, you look inquisitive.
Oh, okay. I was just curious because I was just like, time out. It doesn't have the loyalty shield on the back because all the other arts don't as well. I was just like, do they have their loyalties on the back?
I think it's because she's flipping.
Yeah, I guess they don't.
Yeah. I don't. But as I said, I think it's fine if you're going for that thematic, right? If you're living your Twilight fantasy and Edgar Cullen doesn't quite do it for you, but Jacob does, I mean, here you go. And then the Thought
Yeah.
Breach, I didn't have an opinion, but you did have an opinion about the Thought Breach.
Through the
Oh,
breach
Through the
isn't.
Breach.
No, you're good. Through the breach isn't. It's originally from Kamigawa.
Oh,
Yeah, like this art is just from Ultimate Masters, and then they were like, oh well, since Nahiri and Emrakul are here, I guess we can put it in Innistrad. But the card is literally from Kamigawa to begin with, and we're over here like, yeah, no, it's Innistrad. It's Innistrad related.
it
You
looks Innistrad.
yeah, it's originally from Kamigawa, which is why you see instant dash arcane.
we
There's
don't
going to be no other arcane spells.
we don't we don't talk about that. Let's go into the retro borders that can be open in play boosters, and we'll get into a conversation about the R header that we did because we literally busted ass putting together this slide to be able to commentate on it right away after spoilers were done this morning. And literally we finished up. We have 10-hour job days, which is why you guys don't see our stuff till later because we literally rush home and we record. Somebody tweeted out about some of this information, and again we'll talk about that. And it literally, as we finished and we're getting ready to walk out the door for work, and we're like, we're gonna send it anyways. I don't necessarily want to go over these cards because we already communicated about how we felt about them. I don't have a preference towards any of these. I'm strictly going to come from an art standpoint. I like the Sarin. I naturally like some retro borders anyways. However, my same gripe that I had with the Liliana, which is I would have, even though it's not true to retro for planeswalkers, I would have liked to have the loyalty shields on there, which was again the same thing I said about the Liliana, because if you are going to be marketing towards some newer Magic players with this set that maybe did not get to experience original Innistrad, or they don't have a way to get a hold of Crimson Vow or Midnight Hunt, this would be a good way for them to get their hands on these products. And I don't think that's very beginner friendly. You're staying true to the retro, which is great and all, but I just feel like that would have been a nice touch. So that's my hot take on those cards.
You know, I want the retro planeswalkers to be like how they did the retro planeswalkers originally in the secret layer. Which it had a lot more text and it wasn't as easy to read, but it also says along the lines of, because destroy wasn't always destroy, but it was something else. But the retro planeswalker secret layer says, like, I think Teferi is like, when Teferi has 0 loyalty counters, he abandons you.
That'd be funny.
I just want to be abandoned by my planeswalkers.
Sure.
And the shield is also very awkward, not having the shields.
It
just
is
the random number.
It is. Someone could be confused and think that's a 4/4 toughness or something to the tune of that. I also we don't have to necessarily touch on it because this is not an Innistrad thing. I really don't like gold retro borders, and I realize the longer I stare at this, that's what is here. Don't like them. I think they look gaudy as fuck. I like monocolored retro borders. The gold ones aren't it. At least for me. Again, this has nothing to do with Innistrad Remastered. This was just, as I sit here and have to continually stare at it, I am upset about them.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. They're just...
Except for maybe the Gitrog. Let's see. Moving on. I think my cursor got out of the way. Collector boosters only. I really like the Gitrog monster art here. I also do love the Hermit Druid and the Through the Breach art for these. I will not play either of these cards. I think they're really cool. So whatever artist they have on these cards is doing a very good job.
Yeah. 100%.
The Gitrog and Through the Breach is the same artist. So I think that's really cool that even the Hermit Druid, I feel like these cards three together, they look like they were collaborated together. The artwork looks very similar-esque, not just for like the movie poster look, but the same amount of like contrast and bright colors. And if I didn't know any better, I would say that there is a potential they are the same artist, which is really, really good when you're doing these kind of, I think you said we were getting 10 movie poster sets.
Yep.
So I think it's really cool when art happens to mimic each other because it feels whole in like a uniform, and I think that is part of what makes people want to collect them all, especially if for whatever reason you feel like artwork is amiss. You may not be inclined to collect all of them, so I think that is really cool. Like I said, I like these. The captivating vampire.
I was gonna say you didn't say anything about the captivating vampire, but you said something about all three.
The way I described it at work, first off, before I flame the shit out of it, well, I guess I'll flame the shit out of it first, and then I will go into some good parts that I really like about it. My hot take on this art is it is the guy that sang Chocolate Rain as a vampire seducing Little Nos. Which I think is really funny. I love that as a meme. Now, going into the rest of the art, I actually really, really like this art. I wish Edgar had actually been more into this style. I usually don't like the movie poster thing because your eyes don't know where to land on. And unless you're a skilled Magic player or you use these cards often, it might be a little confusing to see these and know exactly what it is that your creature's doing. Or if your opponent doesn't know, I feel like the Captivating Vampire is the clearest to understand exactly what it is. I really like the layout of the card. I like where the pips are. I like the big to small font for the title. I like that the 2/2 for its power and toughness is really big. It's got its creature type there. And then there's a nice, healthy chunk that is clearly defined by some bordering of what the card does.
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes don't go towards like the cereal box art, or I wouldn't probably get a couple of these cards unless I knew 100% what they did. I feel like moving forward, when Magic does these kinds of cards that are like movie poster or the cereal one that I mentioned, learn something from what this artist did, because that placement is all very, very good. I applaud you in the graphics category, but also please keep giving us Little Nos art because this is hilarious. You have any comments and opinions?
Just looking, the more that I look at these, the more I'm like, I just don't feel like these are Magic cards.
Which is really hard. I think it makes sense when I really like some of these cards when they're legendary creatures and they're going to be your commander, which is what I'm starting to lean towards for some of my things, especially like it's a Secret Lair, the Gov. I really like that sort of style. I don't necessarily like these, seeing it, especially an instance or a sorcery or something like that, where you're literally going to see it for a fraction of a second and then it goes into the bin.
Yep.
I think that's kind of a sad moment. I do really like the Gitrog though. I love this like Bayou giant frog literally like staring Hypnotoad eyes at you. That would be terrifying. I out of all of these, I think it would be like Gitrog monster, Through the Breach. Hot take, the more that I stare at the Captivating Vampire, I think that's number 3. More because of the meme than anything. And then the Hermit Druid, even though the taxidermy bear thing is super dope. I think all of these arts are good in their own ways. I just don't think they'd be hitting my deck. Besides maybe the Gitrog.
That's fair.
Maybe him. But no, I agree. They don't feel like Magic cards. But when you get those Secret Lairs that are in this style, they don't feel like Magic cards. And hot take, which we didn't get to do this back from Foundations, and it was part of what I feel like catapulted us into this. A lot of the full arts from Foundations did not look like Magic cards.
Nope.
And I didn't like them.
You don't have to like them.
The spice. And I was talking to our editor on the way out the door regarding these. First off, Craterhoof getting a reprint. Now, we've seen, like you said before at work, we see a lot of these in reprint. However, this is still a very big value dollar card. And then you and I did not think that this card was going to get printed, our Goth Mommy Angel of Hope, but she did. We had to actually dig up her spoiler because we didn't see it in. I think you said you didn't see it in the stream, and I didn't see it come up in our Discord for spoilers.
Yeah. So
Um,
this one is not confirmed yet.
we found it somewhere else. It was a reliable source. It's one that we used before, but don't quote us on this one quite yet. However, and you know, because you watched the stream, do you want to explain why these two are here and they're not in your retros?
Because going through and watching the stream, Craterhoof comes up, and the guy is like, one of the people that is doing the stream, who works for Wizards. His name is Blake Rasmussen, however you pronounce his last name. He goes, yeah, Craterhoof Behemoth, collector booster only.
Mm.
And only in retro. And he was like, the cards that you only see in retro border are only going to be in the collector boosters. So you won't be able to open them in play boosters.
And then the conversation you told me too was that the Crater Hoof was not going to be a mythic slot, it was going to be a retro slot.
Yeah, so it would go into the retro slot. It wouldn't go into the rare slot, which makes it also awkward.
Well, this is a mythic.
Well, the rare slot and the mythic slots are the same for packs.
And what we took away from this when we heard it was, goddamn, I did not realize that Wizards of the Coast is now EA Games. Crater Hoof is now Darth Vader. You have to pay $50 to unlock him. And by that, I mean you need to go pay $300 for a collector box if you think you're getting the Innistrad remaster copy of Crater Hoof.
Yep.
I was very upset to find out about this. It's a pay to win. It is a loot crate. It is a season pass for whoever follows us on Instagram. I posted a season pass meme and you probably didn't realize what it was, but it's in regards to this. That is super frustrating, especially considering the fact that, yes, we are getting reprints of high-priced cards, right? Edgar in particular, granted, when Edgar was first spoiled, his Judge promo was 180. His normal version was like around the realm of at least 120 last we had checked, and then we checked today, and some of his cards are down to like $70.
Yeah.
And his Judge promo went down to 120, which I cried a little inside. But that's a different story for a different day. So to see some high value cards coming out of this, one, I am glad in a way to see dollar figures coming down for some of these higher priced cards, even though it hurts me greatly in the Edgar department. But we discussed Crater Hoof is not going to go down. It is just a good card.
Yeah.
So all it really did was, hey, you don't want to buy a single of Crater Hoof and you want to gamble. If you're not that kind of person that buys singles, you will be spending $300 to try and pull it. And if you pull it. And then same in our thought process will be also our hot goth mommy, which I pray to God not, because she is also a high value card right now.
Yeah.
And so putting her behind a paywall would be really awkward. And as I said earlier, as we got ready to walk out the door from work, this tweet came out, which was, I misspoke on stream. The retro only cards can appear in both play boosters and non-foil. Traditional foil retro cards are only going to be found in collector boosters. Sorry for the error. And then MTG Goldfish came back and said, like Snapchat, Caster, and Liliana.
No,
Crater
that
Hoof.
was his reply. This was the reply.
Okay.
Yeah.
Crater Hoof is only in collector boosters and only in retro frame, which, yeah. What this means to me, because you and I haven't talked about this tweet yet.
Mm-hmm.
Retro only cards can appear in play boosters. I think that is nice. I think that's what we understood originally in non-foil, which is fine. I don't like foiled retros. Traditional foil retros only. I think it's kind of dumb that foil retros will be in collectors only. However, I don't really care because I don't like foils, and I don't like foil retros to begin with. The Snapcaster, the Liliana, and the Crater Hoof is only in collector boosters and only in retro frame, which leaves us to go, you misspoke, but in actuality, yeah, he's probably behind a paywall.
Well, and so I did talk to you about this, and it was what we're probably gonna see is it wasn't a misspoke. He didn't misspeak at first,
Mm-hmm.
and it was Wizards just got blown up because it was oh well, looks like they just want us for our money.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I playing this game if they're just going to keep forcing me to spend hundreds of dollars on this product that I just want the cards for? Looks like I'm just going to wait for singles to come out. And then on my Magic threads
Mm-hmm.
was just it was like 8 posts in a row. Guess I'm going to start proxying now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn. And then seeing this post, I'm like, well, it looks like round one of this product will not have any retros in it, but round two will have those retro only cards.
Yeah, and I think it's funny that somebody mentioned doing proxies of these cards because what I've noticed in the last couple months is that there is a lot more people that are open to proxies. Even game stores have made comments about being like proxies are okay. And it used to be the opposite way, right? If you were running proxies, you were a bastard and you weren't
Yeah.
supporting the community or you weren't supporting the game. So that is quite interesting when you hear an outcry from the community saying, guess I'm just going to proxy because you're really just here for our money. And I don't know. I think from the track record that I have is collectors, there should not be cards that are only in collectors. It should be for
No.
alternative arts. And that is because literally in the title, in the name for collectors is you're collecting them.
Yep.
But a specific card in and of itself should not be behind a collector's pack foil
No.
packaging. That's outlandish. Again, that means if you want to try and pull the Craterhoof, the Liliana, the Snapcaster, and we're wondering about, our mommy, it's going to be behind a wall. So
Yep.
people be prepared for that. Um, that's all I want to say about that. This, oddly enough, is not our last slide. It's probably just one of the spicier slides. So EA, when you're done fucking around, let us know. I'll be very curious to see what you say in the next 2 days. Borderless. Speaking of what probably should be in a collector's, Borderless full arts, I think, is fair to go into collectors.
Yeah.
Um, I
You know
want to
the
touch on one of these very heavily. Who invited Geralt?
Fuck.
When did we go into the Witcher universe?
What do you mean? The Witcher is just on Innistrad, just like Through the Breach and Hermit Druid and everything that isn't from Innistrad. I mean, that is from Innistrad, like The Witcher.
I I love hate this card, and not in the same way that I bagged on the Edgar full art serialized card. I think this is a very cool card. I am 10 kinds about the cool angels in the background with their eyes bleeding. I'm here for the armor and stuff. But goddamn, can my head not get past Geralt? And I don't want to rag on the artist because this is a beautiful card. But at what point did they sit there and get done and go, oh my god, I've made Geralt. I've made The Witcher. And it's not a Witcher set. Hot take. Scrap Innistrad. Let's get a universe with Witcher cards. That'd be
Universe
fucking
Beyond
cool.
Witcher.
That would be sick. I'd be 10 kinds of down for that. A secret lair? Wizards, if you're listening, get on that shit. But yeah. If for whatever reason I go to pull packs and I happen to pull this card, I'll run Henry Cavill in one of my decks. Why not? But mainly not because of the character himself. I honestly think this background's stupid dope. I did proxies for mountains in my angel deck when it was Boros, and it was like stone angels crying lava. So this checks like all of the cool aesthetic boxes for me. It's just a little awkward.
You know, the more I look at the art on these cards, the more I hate it.
I actually don't mind the art on these cards. They're okay. I think the braid is actually really cool. I like this like bird flying in with red talons, cracking what looks like some dude's mask. I think that's really cool. The tireless tracker, I wouldn't know
Tireless
that
track.
this is new. I would have thought this is just a card that already existed. Honestly, it looks like it belongs in Bloomborough. It makes sense for the card name and what it is, and it fits very thematic for what it is. But
Incorrect. Cannot be on Bloomborough. Was no humans on Bloomborough.
whatever. I think it would make sense.
Nope. Humans can't be on Bloomborough. They get turned into animals.
No one's ever gonna get their Lola Bunny secret lair. I'm sorry.
You don't know that.
I hope not. But yeah, you have any other comments with swords? You don't like these cards. I, from an art standpoint, don't mind these cards. Again, just the Geralt thing trips me up something fierce.
You know, I think they're fine. I'm not a huge fan, but they're there. They're there. I wish Wizards didn't do paywalls for movie poster art, but I also wish they didn't do movie poster arts. So it's one of those. It is what it is. All packs will have a retro slot. They will have a single retro slot, but you are gonna probably fighting for every single card in the set having a retro function. So
Yeah.
getting the Avacyn or Craterhoof is going to be a little bit awkward
Yep.
because it's going to be not only a retro, it's going to be a mythic retro that is only in retro. So you're only going to have one way to get it for opening packs, and it's in a single slot in a single pack.
Yeah. This is our last slide. There's a couple things that I want to touch on. One, we've talked about it, that Innistrad is said in the stream that the last of the spoilers, everything will be done in 2 days. That seems aggressively rushed. Even for my short time being within the Magic community, that seems very unheard of. And I know that the community, and we talked about it, was that it feels like that this list is not complete. It feels very rushed. It feels like they're scrambling for something. And we kind of talked about that yesterday when I said that Duskmourn did really well, and the Innistrad Remastered right now feels like it's just riding on the tail skirts of the hit that was Duskmourn. I don't know how I feel about them trying to slam it out in 2 days. They put an astronomical price once again on these on these boxes, and then they're like, spoilers in 2 days, all of them, which leads me to believe that Wizards probably has not sold a lot of pre-orders, and it is aggressively trying to sell them. I also contemplated in my head whether or not this is a scare tactic to say, if stores only got so many boxes of these, you need to buy them soon based off of what you've seen today and what you've seen in the last couple days, because in 2 days everything will be out in the open and there's a chance you might not be able to pre-order a box.
Yeah, but I don't think people are they're gonna be like, oh, this set is just mid, and I don't think that Wizards is gonna plan that accordingly.
I think that's the case if you're a MTG player that has a bit of background, if you've been playing for a while, if you understand these cards. Again, I think some of these cards, hot take, is for a newer player that did not get the chance to do it in Innistrad, that is not able to get Crimson Vow and Midnight Hunt, and they are looking to do, oddly enough, some of the decks that I did as my first ones, which was like werewolves, and they're not new, but my vampires, right? I said yesterday that I've walked into stores now and I've heard of more Edgar decks coming out of the ether, and one of which was kind of from some teenage looking boy, which, I mean, good on him for liking vampires, but I feel like that is kind of what this is marketing towards in a way, and those kind of age demographics don't really have the money, but I feel like a new Magic player like myself that has the disposable income in a way to do one of these boxes might be compelled to do so. Especially there is some high value cards in here, but it's just a matter of, is it worth it? Because ultimately, those singles that are expensive will not diminish in value, besides obviously the Edgar did, but I don't think the Sorin will. There's a couple of cards in here that are like not in the double digits, but would be considered expensive. And those aren't going to change, I don't personally think. I could be wrong, because I didn't think that Edgar's Judge promo was going to go down, but lo and behold, it did. But that's ultimately what I think it is. Again, I don't think it's Wizards' intent to do scare tactics, but it is something that I considered in my head when I found out there's no other reason besides your profits aren't, looking great. Um,
Yeah.
and that's the only reason why I could think of in 2 days. Like, and at least when we saw people post about it in like pre-orders, it's like while supplies last or limited quantity or whatever have you. Um, I'll be really curious how many pre-order boxes don't get done, how much these go on the shelves for, and what their diminishing value is possibly, after a couple months when we start going into Aether Drift and Final Fantasy and stuff like that. Are these boxes going to stay in the $200 to $300 realm, or are they going to decline, or maybe they'll go up? I have no idea.
Well, I got one thing to say. Next week, you ready for those Aether Drift
Oh
spoilers?
my god. I thought we had 2 weeks.
uh,
I could be wrong.
when does Aether Drift come out? When
It
is
comes out on Valentine's Day. I found that out today.
so pre-release is gonna be the 7th
That's
for
fast. That's a month.
yeah, that is literally a month away. So we will most likely start seeing the spoilers next week.
And
Um
that's bad timing on Wizards' part. Maybe that's the other reason why we're seeing Innistrad in literally 2 days, is
if we get
because they need to gear up for Aether Drift.
well, yeah, who doesn't love just all the race cars?
I will say I looked at the lands today and they are very beautiful. But Aether Drift is for other videos. This was for us to
It
talk
is.
about
My bad,
Innistrad.
my bad.
No. It's one of those. Yesterday we divulged into everything besides Innistrad. But that would make sense
Because
why Innistrad we're now seeing it in 2 days. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe sales are doing great. Maybe they just need to make time for Aether Drift and hype that up, because God knows I've seen it hyped up everywhere for all kinds of conventions and such. But final thoughts coming out of spoiler day 2. We want a precursor to before we go into any sort of final thoughts is there will be spoilers tomorrow. There will be spoilers on Thursday. We will not be doing a spoiler video tomorrow.
nope.
I don't think there will be anything that warrants it unless something really, really hot comes off the press. It's just one of those.
Doubt.
We have other content that we need to make. I need to click up with Donnie to do another Hammer Talk video. We've got D&D that we need to get recording. We need to be editing. So as much as it's great that Wizard has the time to do spoilers every day this week and tell us that everything will be done in 2 days, we're just not going to follow it. It's
Yeah.
been very disappointing to see what came out yesterday. It's been very disappointing to see what came out today, which honestly, you wouldn't have to slam out a bunch of cards in 2 days if we had gotten a better spoiler yesterday. We got 3
Yeah.
cards. Like, what the fuck?
You could have spread it out,
No
but
shit.
you chose not to.
I digress though. But anyways, long story short is we will not be covering anything tomorrow. We're gonna give our editor a break. We're gonna give ourselves a break. We will probably be doing a video on Thursday. It will possibly be a long one. I'm not entirely sure, but we will try and keep up on that on Thursday, barring how much we have to go through. But final thoughts so far. Did Innistrad Remaster redeem itself since the other videos that we've had? No.
No. It's
Do we?
still Metastrad.
It's still Innistrad. Do we think you should still buy singles in case there are things that were spoiled that you are looking for? Yes. Do I think there's a possibility that I will be buying a box because we posted Billy saying no, don't go to the Innistrad? Probably not anymore. I would have loved to provide that content for you guys, but I don't think it's financially smart.
I just don't think it's worth it, because even
It doesn't.
Crimson Vow and Midnight Hunt, at least whenever I was going to my LGS quite a bit, they just sat on the shelf because nobody wanted to buy them.
They still sit on the shelf.
Yeah, it's because it's like Midnight Hunt. I could buy like 2 collector boxes right now if I wanted to,
Mm-hmm.
but guess what? I don't want.
I only bought the double feature because it was in black and white, and Pat was buying a box today, and he goes, "Baby, do you want a box?" And I didn't know what set to choose from, and they're like, "These cards are all black and white and vampires," and I was like, "That sounds fucking dope." And so that was the only reason why I bought one of those boxes. Other than that, I have never bought a pack of Crimson Vow. I have never bought a pack of Midnight Hunt.
Ain't missing out.
I haven't bought another pack of double feature, and I will not, even though I like seeing the black and white cards. Yeah. Guys, we're sorry if you do like Innistrad and you think this is gas. Again, this is a hot takes on our opinions, and it's just not worth it. As someone that likes the serotonin of popping packs, do yourself the favor, just buy singles.
We're also sorry for just being negative the last couple videos about Innistrad, but it's...
I had such high hopes for Innistrad.
I think that our first video for Innistrad was like, oh, this looks pretty fire.
And that was the wild part. The first video, it looked fucking fire, minus the Edgar. What happened?
Nah, Edgar was fine. Edgar was fine. Live that girl boss stream.
It's just, I know that we will have positive content when it comes to Aether Drift. Not to cycle back to that, but I did look at the land cards today alone that are basics. I think they're fucking gorgeous, and I don't like basic lands. So there will be positivity there. We might have a couple Hot Wheels jokes. We might have a couple Redline jokes, but I really like Redline. But yeah.
Kira jokes.
As we said before, if you are looking for doses of serotonin, save your money. Put it towards a box from Aether Drift. You'll probably get more value out of it. Even if you're not playing a lot of those cards, it will be hitting standard. There will probably be a market for it out there.
Yeah.
And with that, I don't know how else to sign this off without it feeling like a negative Nancy, but we'll catch you on Thursday for more disappointment here on Innistrad Remastered Spoilers.
Don't forget to check out our other content. We got Ariel with Donnie doing some Hammer talk. We have our D&D stuff. We have other hot takes videos where we are a little bit more positive, a little bit more enjoyable for the optimistic people.
It's better content that we can talk about. That's what we should blame it on. It's not an us problem. It's a wizard's problem. So long, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.